Welcome everyone. As you know, we're involved in professional learning with Julie and Shirley every second Friday morning. In our last session, we examined the Introduction to Quality Literacy Teaching document, this one here. Hope you've all seen that and studied up on that. As always, the professional learning has been quite invaluable, and it's always made us consider our practice in view of our added knowledge. Our job today is to pass this learning on to you and make you all walk away scratching your heads, having a big aha moments like we did. During this session, we would like to, first of all, examine explicit, systematic, balanced and integrated literacy teaching, and secondly, consider how the 4 literacy resources model and that document, a process for explicit and systematic literacy teaching, assists in planning for an integrated literacy teaching approach. The video you just watched was from Lorraine Rolls, who was Manager of Literacy at the time, and she provides a context for our professional learning. Since then, we know that Hattie's had quite a lot of research and evidence-based research. So we'll start with this quote, which looks at the greatest influences on literacy learning are the teachers and the quality of teaching. So the evidence tells us that quality literacy teaching can and does impact on student literacy learning. And since this publication, we know that Hattie's had his visible learning, where he studied a lot of research and analysed a lot of data. And this text reaffirms that it is teacher quality and the quality of teaching that makes a difference to student learning. We will now look more closely at what Lorraine refers to as the 4 cornerstones of quality literacy teaching.
So an introduction to quality literacy teaching explores in detail the 4 cornerstones of quality literacy teaching, and these cornerstones are explicit, the systematic, the balanced and the integrated. There will be a handout in front of you now. It's for task 1. So I'd like you to take a few minutes to jot down what you believe each of these terms to mean in regard to your literacy teaching. So record these on task 1 handout. Take the time to be really honest. There's no right or wrong answer. Don't try to write what you think we want to hear. Just really reflect and write down what you think each of these terms means. Okay, so to complete this task, you've got about 5 to 10 minutes, and during this time, you'll need to just pause the video. Okay, so we'll now think about why these terms have been referred to as cornerstones. The cornerstones, or the foundation stone concept, is derived from the first stone set in the construction of a masonry foundation. Important since all the other stones will be set in reference to this stone, thus determining the position of the entire structure. If one cornerstone is pulled out, the structure will topple over. We'll now look at these 4 cornerstones of quality literacy teaching in more detail. Okay, so it's important to take the time to develop a shared understanding of balanced and integrated, explicit and systematic literacy teaching. We're going to get you now to read through and complete the activity outlined on the slide. You'll be given a copy of page 16 and 17 from the document, which we'd like you to take the time to read through. And using your original recording sheet, we'd like you to be thinking about and adding to your original definitions and understandings about these terms using the same handout. You've got about 15 to 20 minutes to complete this activity. So again, you might like to pause the presentation. We'll now make the links to the 4 literacy resources model, provides a starting point for informed discussion about balanced and integrated literacy teaching.
Okay, now for some of you, you may remember the 4 literacy resources model from uni. Some may not. It was research done by Luke and Freebody. And what it illustrates is the kinds of literacy capabilities that the kids require or they have to interact with to create any print-based, spoken, visual or electronic text. Have a look at them. You now have another task. We'll hand out page 18 of the document, Quality Teaching in Literacy, and I want you to do a dot point summary of the key features of this model of Luke and Freebody. and record these on the top section of your Session 2 Task 2 handout. Allow about 5 to 10 minutes, including sharing time with the rest of your stage, so you'll need to press pause again. Okay, you may have noticed that code breaking is outcome A, would links loosely to outcome A, well closely. Meaning making links to outcome B. The text using and text analysing resources link to C, D and E. But we do need the 4 of those, or kids need the 4 of those capabilities to be able to access quality literacy skills. And I think that if you provide your teaching in an authentic way, using picture books and things like that, you automatically balance those capabilities. All right, let's now consider the implications of the 4 literacy resource models for teachers and students. You've got on the back of your information, on the back of page 18 is page 19. Can you have a read of that and just summarise or have a short discussion with what needs to be taught in relation to each resource, and how teachers can balance and integrate the resources with one or more of the other resources. How could we make that, plan that balanced literacy programming? So pause, have a little read, have a little discussion, and then play. Okay, so hopefully you've got a better understanding of what they mean, and you could see where it happens in your class and where it might need to change or move or be added to. An example we were thinking of was when teaching students to write, they're often using the code breaking skills, the secretarial, and making meaning by asking what this is about. The text using by deciding on what should be included. As an example, show, don't tell, because it's a text that may entertain. And the text analysing, identifying the techniques that authors use to entertain readers. So in teaching in that way, you're incorporating all of the 4 literacy resources models by providing an authentic purpose for the writing lesson, and you're providing authentic examples such as using picture books. So it's a great way to get it done. The next slide, we're going to have a look at our learning cycles in relation to this and see if we can make links or determine if the literacy teaching outlined in our plans is balanced. So working in stage teams, have a look at one of your recent learning cycles, or you may have your literacy program with you, and reflect on your learning from today. Can you use the code? And when we say code, we talk about integrated, balanced, systematic and explicit, as well as the resources model, to check for those things and to check for integration. Allow about 5 to 10 minutes for that, and then come back.
Now for some reflection time. You'll have an in-between session reflection task. At our next meeting, which will be in week 8, we will have the opportunity to reflect on our practice and share with staff examples of our learning from today in respect to either the explicit, systematic, balanced and integrated literacy teaching or the 4 resources learning model. You can use the questions above to guide you because week 8 seems so far away, we will start to share some reflections in the shared ideas part of our communication meeting and also throughout our stage meetings. We really want to share one thing that you have changed or something that you do different, knowing what you know now, and looking at how has your new learning impacted on our practice. Good luck.